Southwest 3216 only tired, runway 24 right for last.
Today we'll be flying the CAT-01 rating on the PilotEdge online flight simulator network. CAT stands for Communication and Airspace Training, and the CAT-01 is the first rating in a VFR training program available with every PilotEdge subscription. Throughout the CAT rating series, you'll learn all about airspace and communication as it relates to VFR flying. The CAT ratings begin with the most simple of VFR flights, a non-towered airport to a non-towered airport flight where we don't encounter any controlled airspace along the way, and that's what we'll be doing today. As the ratings go on, we'll encounter Class Delta, Charlie, and even Bravo airspace, and by the end of the CAT rating series, you'll be a master at talking to ATC on the radios and navigating airspace while flying VFR. So let's focus on today's flight, the CAT-01. A link to the CAT rating series can be found in the description of this video. If you're watching this in preparation for flying the CAT-01 rating yourself, I expect that by now you've read the briefing page for the CAT-01 flight. If not, now would be the time to do so. To recap that briefing, today we'll be flying from Cuyama Airport, that's Lima 52, over to Cuyama Airport, that's Lima 88. It's about a 50-mile flight, and both airports are located within Class Golf airspace. Along the way, we'll be flying in Class Echo airspace, and now neither Class Echo or Golf requires us to make any radio calls or be in contact with ATC. However, considering the purpose of these ratings is to learn how to talk on the radios, while we still won't be talking to ATC during the flight, we're still going to make our recommended radio calls while operating on and around the airport environment as prescribed in the AIM. Today I'll be flying this flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the default Baron. Full disclosure, I'm not a real Baron pilot, so keep in mind that you might see me doing things that aren't realistic to the Baron. However, the main purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to fly the flight from an airspace and communications perspective, so the actual operation of the aircraft is fairly irrelevant. I'd recommend conducting this flight in a single or twin-engine piston, such as a Skyhawk or a Baron. As far as the routing, that's up to you. Today I've kept things simple, and I've just plugged in direct to Cuyama Airport into the GPS. However, once we get up to cruise, I'll explain a few other ways that you can navigate this flight if you didn't want to use a GPS. Today we'll be cruising at 7,500 feet, and that's due to the terrain that's out here near Cuyama. You've got some mountain peaks that are right around the 5,000 range, so we'll cruise well above that at 7,500. Before every CAT rating, you need to follow a flight plan. This is to let the PilotEdge system know that you're conducting an official CAT rating attempt. Now, typically with a VFR flight, you don't need to follow a flight plan. That's optional, but if you're going to be doing the CAT ratings, you're going to have to do that. So we'll go over to the flight plan following field here. I've already filled out most of it ahead of time. The only thing you're really going to need to pay attention to is down in box 13. You're going to select the PilotEdge rating flight, and you're going to select that you're doing the CAT-01 attempt. Once you have all that filled out, double check it for accuracy that the airports are correct. Lima 52 over to Lima 88 for us today, and we're going to follow the flight plan. Now that we've done that, we'll hop in the cockpit. I've already got the engines running here, and we're just about ready to go. We'll grab the AWAS or a METAR or something of the sort. I've already grabbed the METAR here, and we've got the altimeter set to 2992. That is the pressure today happens to be standard, and our transponder is set to VFR 1200. And we've got the CTAP frequency, 122.7, which is found on the sectional chart here, 122.7 right there. You can also find it on airnav.com. I've got airnav up here as well. That's got all of your frequencies and information as well for that. And we are going to head out. We are clear left and clear right. So we're going to make our first call. Oceano traffic. Baron 210 Pop Echo is taxiing from transient ramp to runway 29er for departure to the Southwest Oceano. Okay, so now we're approaching the midpoint of the runway, and we're going to have to go ahead and cross the runway to head over to runway 29 for departure, so we'll go ahead and put on the brakes here and we'll make another call. Oceano traffic, Baron 210 Pop Echo is crossing the runway at midfield from north to south, and we'll be taxiing runway 29 for departure, Oceano. Okay, so we're going to clear the final on each side. It looks like we're clear to the left. And we are clear to the right. Got someone taxiing down there to our right, but there'll be no factor. Okay, and we'll turn the lights off. Runway crossing is complete. So now, typically as we get down to the end of the runway, we would do a run-up, but for the purpose of this video and just timing, I'm going to skip the run-up for today. We'll just briefly talk about our departure. We're going to be departing on runway 29er, and we're going to be making a left 45 right after departure, just a left 45-degree turn. That's going to put us out, get us away from the traffic pattern. We will plan to climb to 1,000 feet, and that'll get us right at TPA, traffic pattern altitude, in which case we'll begin our left turn out to the east. So as we get down here, I already checked the other side as we were crossing the runway, make sure no one was on final, but we will do a little bit of a spin here, just survey the whole area, make sure we got no one out there. Remember that radio calls are optional here, although we're making them for good practice. Other aircraft are not required to. Looks like we're clear. Oceano traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, departing runway 29er, left turn out to the east, Oceano. Alright, we're taking the runway, lights coming up. And now you'll notice when I make my radio calls, I'm saying Oceano at the beginning and the end. And that is because the frequency that we're using, the CTAF frequency, can be shared by several by several airports in the area. So by saying at the beginning and the end, and we're going to go set power. By saying the airport name, both at the beginning and the end, it'll let pilots know if they don't catch one of those, which airport I'm operating at. 70 knots, 80, and rotate. Positive rate, gear up.
626 Mike Tango is taking off runway 29er, departing to the east following the burn. Oceano.
Okay, so we got someone departing behind us, sounds like a diamond. So we're making that left 45-degree turn now. And again, we're just going to get up to 1,000 feet. We're going to roll out after that 45-degree turn. There's 1,000 feet. So we're going to clear our left turn out here. And looks good. So we're going to make our left turn out to the east. Oceano traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo is above TPA. We're clearing the area to the east. Final call, Oceano. So I just make a final call there. I let the other pilots know that it is my final call, just in case someone needs to get a hold of me. They know that there's a good chance that they will not be able to, because I'm about to switch frequencies. Now, which frequency do we tune to, right? We're not going to be talking to ATC, and we don't need to be in contact with anyone. So we're actually going to tune to the guard frequency, and that's 121.5. So 121.5, and we'll explain what guard is here in just a minute if you're unfamiliar. There we go, 121.5 is set. So guard is an emergency frequency, and it serves several purposes. The AIM recommends that all pilots should monitor guard if you have a standby radio or just a spare radio. In this case, we're not talking to any ATC. We're clear of the airport area, so we can just monitor guard. And what we might hear on guard are several things. We could hear, for instance, the most important thing we could hear is an ELT. And this is what goes off. It's a kind of like a siren. If an aircraft were to go down, an ELT, an emergency locator transmitter, would go off, and it would send a signal, an audible signal, over on guard, and we would report that to air traffic control. So if I were to hear one, I'd tune up a local center frequency and approach frequency, and I would say, hey, center approach 210 Pop Echo is X miles from this location, and we're picking up an ELT on guard. And in that case, the air traffic controller would report that to their supervisors, and if necessary, they would send out search and rescue to see about that aircraft, to see what happened to that aircraft. Because if you think about it, for us flying today without air traffic control, if we were to have something happen, no one would know about us. We did file a flight plan. That's the one thing we have in our favor, but it could be hours until someone realizes that we haven't closed that flight plan. Now on PilotEdge, you actually don't close VFR flight plans because there's no flight service. We're actually not really opening it either. Again, the VFR flight plan is really just for the rating that we're conducting today. But in the real world, you would open your VFR flight plan and then you'd have to remember to close it. Otherwise, they're going to wonder why you never closed it. They're going to go looking for you. So that is the first thing about guard. The second reason that you should monitor guard is it just acts as a frequency if someone needs to make a distress call. So for instance, with us being on 121.5 now, this could also be in our favor. If we were to have an emergency situation occur then we could make a transmission on guard, and then hopefully some airliner or just some other pilot, whether it be that Diamond pilot behind us that we heard depart the Oceano airport, or someone else even up at 30,000 feet, they would hear our transmission on guard, and then they could radio to ATC and say, hey, approach or center, we just heard a distress call on guard. Additionally, air traffic control is also monitoring the guard frequency. However, their transmitters might be too low at points to pick up our call depending on where we are. So that's why it's also helpful to relay through other aircraft. So you can see here we're a little bit south of the magenta line. I'm just slowly correcting. There's really no rush. We got plenty of time. We're climbing through about 4,900 feet now, on our way up to 7,500 feet. Alright, so he's leveled off here at 7,500 feet, and I've actually engaged the autopilot just so I can show you all some more information on how else you could navigate this flight if you didn't want to use the GPS. So I've just got the autopilot set to 7,500 feet, and I've just got the heading bug here, just slowly getting back that magenta line, still a little bit south of it, but that's no big deal. We got plenty of visibility out in front of us. It's looking real nice. So other ways that we can navigate this flight, I'll bring up the sectional chart for you all again. And what we can do with this is, if we wanted to use VOR navigation, so for instance, we could just fly direct to the Fellows VOR here, and then you could figure out what the radial is off of Fellows to get to Cuyama. Just eyeballing it, it looks like about the 120 radial would point you directly at Cuyama, so that would work pretty well. Another thing you could do is just use Dead Reckoning and PilotEdge, not to be confused with PilotEdge, but PilotEdge just being time-based, so you're doing distance and speed and time calculations along with just looking for visual reference points on the ground. So judging by the sectional, this reservoir would be a terrific reference point to get you going in the right direction here. And then you could even pick up this river here, the Cuyama River, and what do you know, that takes you directly to the airport. So that's another thing you could do if you wanted to navigate just using your eyeballs and not so much with your navigation equipment. Additionally, as you can see on the sectional, we've got some high mountainous terrain here, so you could navigate via Pozo or Weiner, and that would kind of take you around the mountainous terrain if you're in something that maybe you're not as comfortable climbing up to 7,500, or if you just want to stay a little more low level, maybe the clouds are a little bit lower that day, maybe that's more about a 5,000 overcast layer, you can't get up and over the mountains, you're going to have to go for the lower terrain route, which would be kind of north around those mountain ranges. So finally, another thing we can do, and you can see I've already marked this on the chart, to give us an idea of how far we are from Cuyama. So now we do have GPS here, so we can get our DME if we want to, but this is just an idea of maybe we're using Dead Reckoning, and we're picking VFR points. Maybe we're looking at the microwave station here, maybe we're just going off the peaks of the mountains, and we know we need to be on about a 90 heading, an 89 heading to get to the airport. Well, how are we going to know when we're within the airport environment? Well, we can tune the Fellows VOR on 117.5, and we can put in the 180 radial, which is right here. You can see this intersects our flight path, and this will give us about an 11 to 12 mile distance from the Cuyama airport. So we'll head back into the cockpit, and we will get the Fellows VOR tuned, and once again that's 117.5, and you can see it just the needle move there, so we know we're picking it up. So we're going to tune this to a 180 degree radial. Okay, now again, this is more advanced than the rating is, but just because we're up at cruise kind of doing not much of anything, I figured we'd kind of go over this with you. So again, we are still monitoring guard. We're on 1 to 1.5. We haven't heard any sort of distress calls or ELTs, so everything's going fine. We're level at 7,500. It's a beautiful morning out here in Southern California. So as we approach the Fellows 180 radial, this green line will begin to move to the middle here, and that's how we know that we are passing it. So essentially where we are located is going to be this part of the line here, and this portion of line here. So if our GPS were to go out, for instance, and we wanted to know how far we were from Cuyama, this would be able to tell us. So now let's start thinking of our plan as we get into the new Cuyama area. So we're going to be wanting to monitor the new Cuyama CTAF frequency, which is 122.9, so we can get that at least ready in our cockpit now. We're going to go 122.9. Okay, so that's ready in our standby, and we're not going to monitor that quite yet. We're going to wait until we're about 10 to 15 miles out to switch that over. Okay, so we're about at that 10 to 15 mile point, so we're going to flop over to New Cuyama CTAF and look at that. Our 11 to 12 mile point is just about coming up here. So we know that by looking at the sectional chart, we are right here on the Fellows 180 radial, which puts us about 11 to 12 miles out from the airport. So with that, we are going to also disconnect the autopilot, and we are going to begin our descent into the new Cuyama area. As you can see on the sectional, we have 122.9 is our CTAF frequency, and right pattern runway 10 is the standard pattern entry, the standard traffic pattern for New Cuyama. And from what the information I have there, the wind is calm, so we are going to use that standard pattern entry, which means we are going to have to enter in on the 45 for right traffic runway 10. So what that means is we are going to come down around here. We'll kind of draw this out. That's essentially what we're going to be doing, and then we'll eventually enter the downwind there, and then just like that. So that's our plan. We're going to enter on the 45, right down for runway 10. Now at some point we'll have to start making our CTAF calls, and that's going to happen right about now actually, as we're well within 10 miles. So I'm going to let the any traffic know that we're inbound. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echoes, about 8 miles to the northwest, inbound for a right downwind, runway 10, New Cuyama. So as you heard me, I said the airport name again, New Cuyama, at the beginning part and the end of the transmission. And just like we did when we departed Oceano, so that is so that anyone else who is monitoring 122.9, because CTAFs and Unicoms can be used by multiple airports in the area, if they pick up even just part of my transmission, whether it be the beginning half or the ending half, hopefully they're able to determine if it's pertinent to them. If they're operating around New Cuyama, they're obviously going to listen up. And if they're not, then they're going to just disregard what they just heard, and that's no problem. Similar to if we were to hear another airplane transmit for an airport other than New Cuyama right now, we would just completely disregard it, because it doesn't pertain to us, as we are now in the New Cuyama area, and there is no other airport within at least a 10-mile radius of the field, so I'm not too concerned about any other traffic for any other airports. So right now I'm kind of angling off to the south a little bit, because we're going to prepare for our kind of an S turn to join the right downwind for runway 10, and we're going to be entering on the 45 to the midfield downwind on all. We already depicted that on the sectional, but I'll show you guys here on the GPS as New Cuyama comes into view here on the right. So here's the airport. Here's our airplane. We're going to be tracking down here. We'll make a left turn to join the right downwind on the 45. That means a 45-degree angle from the downwind, kind of offset from the regular right downwind, and then base to final there. You should be able to see the airport off of our left wing. And I had it a minute ago. There it is, just off the left wing tip. So we're a good distance away from the field. That gives us ample maneuvering time and space to get on that 45. And we're going to begin that left turn now. Now we're at 4,800 feet. The field elevation is about 2,200 feet, slightly higher. So we're going to call 3,200 feet our traffic pattern altitude. That's 1,000 feet above the airport. Now as we make this turn, we're always making sure we clear the area out there. We're looking for other traffic. Remember that there's no requirement for any other traffic to be making radio calls. So we really got to keep an eye out for other traffic in the area. And we are looking to make sure no one's going to be cutting us off coming from the south. Looks clear out there. We're going to clear our downwind here. It looks good to me. I don't see any traffic out there. Making sure no one's coming head on as well. You can see on the GPS, you can track our progress down to the lower right. as we join that right midfield downwind on the 45. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo is entering the right downwind on the 45, runway 10 New Cuyama. So we're settling right here at traffic pattern altitude at 30, well, we're at 3,300, almost 3,200 feet. And New Cuyama is going to be directly off of our right at this point. Getting distracted by looking over there, but show it to you guys here. There it is, right off the right wingtip there. So we're going to continue on this downwind for a little bit longer. We're going to get the landing gear down. And our next call on the CTAF will be our base turn. That will happen another 10 seconds or so. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, turning a 2-mile right base, runway 10, New Cuyama. Alright, flaps are coming out, lights are on, landing gear is down. We'll do one more check of that as we roll out on final. And we're always making sure our base and final is clear. Keeping a good scan for traffic out there as we turn on to final. There's the airport off our right. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, 2-mile final, runway 10, New Cuyama. Alright, once more, lights on, gear down, we got 3 green there, and we are all set. Make one more short final call just in case there's anyone taxiing out who might not see us. Could be at the other end of the runway as well. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, short final, runway 10, New Cuyama. Alright, and now the way this airport's laid out, the only ramp area to park is actually behind us. There's nowhere to park at the end of runway 10. It's all at the beginning of 10, so we actually need to make a 180 on the runway. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, is making a 180 on runway 10 and back taxiing to the northern parking, New Cuyama. And we're just going to keep a good eye out on final here, make sure no one is coming in as we are on the runway. So we make this 180. Obviously, you would never do this at a towered airport unless you're told to do so. Certainly, as we've discussed, there's no controller here, so and there's really no other way to get to the parking area rather than just back taxi down the runway. We will make it a little bit of a high-speed taxi, though, as being on the runway is not the best place to be, certainly not the safest place to hang out. So we'll give it some speed as we hustle down the runway here. And we'll have one final call, and that will be that we are clear of the runway, just to let everyone know that we're no longer taxiing. And parking is off here to the right. Here we go. New Cuyama traffic, bearing 210 Pop Echo, is clear the runway, New Cuyama. Okay. So that is it. Taxi into parking here. Okay, and we have made it to New Cuyama. Taxi light off. So that is the CAT-01 rating. Now, once you've completed that successfully and you've made it to New Cuyama, now the CAT-01 is the only rating in the entire rating series where it's a self-reporting rating. So what that means is that you, before you move on to the CAT-2, you have to self-report that you have completed the CAT-01. And you can do that by going to the CAT-01 page and then scroll all the way down, and you will see the CAT-01 claim form. So it says enter your tail number into the CAT-01 claim form. So you need to do that, If you have any issues, it might be due to the fact that PEware, which is this website here, is not showing you arrived at New Cuyama. So just make sure you sit on the ground connected for a minute or two, and you can check this website here to make sure that it's showing you on the ground. But we are going to select this claim form here, and now it's asking us which call sign we used. And we use 210 Pop Echo. We're going to hit submit, and there we go. It says we've been granted the CAT-01 rating, and we may now proceed to the CAT-2. So thanks all for joining us today on this CAT-01 rating from a non-towered airport to a non-towered airport. We'll see you on the CAT-2 when we're actually going to be talking to a live air traffic controller as we head into a towered Class Delta airport. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the CAT-2.